Where'd you get your news from?
OAN, baby.
OAN?
They're a lot more honest than you. Even Fox News is crooked.
For the first time, Fox News is facing real competition from the right.
Welcome to our new viewers.
If you're watching Newsmax TV or One America News, you are hearing lies that President Trump is going to win a second term.
Trump won the election. He'll win the recount. He'll win in court.
Right now, Joe Biden is pretending to be the president-elect.
Let me be clear. Those are conspiracy theories and baseless accusations.
So Fox News has traditionally been defined by the fact that it has a kind of newsy operation, and then it has a very strong sort of network-defining opinion operation.
We here at One America News are the only ones providing truthful, accurate numbers.
For OAN and Newsmax and the like, there is less of a concern with journalistic integrity, which means that there's actually less of a need to be pinned down by particular reported facts.
Now that Fox has joined the mainstream media in censoring factual reporting,
Anytime that there has been any daylight between Fox News and President Trump, that's where OAN and Newsmax see themselves as having kind of a competitive advantage.
The Fox News decision desk is calling Arizona.
When Fox News called Arizona and eventually the presidency for Biden, some viewers were not happy.
Fox News is going to tell you to sit on your couch and accept that this election was stolen from you like a good little, person.
Newsmax and OAN saw an opening, and they've capitalized on it with conspiracy theories.
Newsmax has not called the election for Joe Biden. Not because we support Donald Trump, because we support democracy. Every vote should count, Brian.
This alternative universe where the election is not over and where Trump might still win is resonating. OAN's ratings are not publicly available, but Newsmax's ratings are, and the channel has seen real growth over the 3 weeks surrounding the 2020 election. Newsmax drew an audience of 63,000 viewers a day the week leading up to November 3rd. 2 weeks later, the average audience was more than 6 times that size. These numbers are still pretty small in comparison to the millions who flock to Fox News every night. But this surge is the first time in Fox's history that any conservative competitor has posed a serious threat.
So when we talk about conservative television, we often think only of Fox News. It's dominated the landscape since it first was launched in 1996. There was some conservative television as way back as the 1960s and the 1970s, but it's not really until Fox News comes on the scene in 1996 that people begin to see that it is possible to be profitable with some sort of conservative targeted programming.
2 years later, Newsmax.com and an accompanying magazine were launched by Chris Ruddy, a former reporter and longtime friend of Donald Trump.
This is during the Clinton years, where there were all of these scandals being generated by right-wing media.
Hello everyone. So today we have an article by CNN talking about Newsmax and OANN, explaining that they're telling quote-unquote lies about the election as more people start tuning into their channels. And here we have a classic case of a company that is going under. They are 180 million in debt, and they're going on the offensive against not only Trump, but conservatives. Conservatives aren't even allowed their own media. As we listen on to CNN prattle on about conspiracy theories and people peddling them, we wonder, why were you peddling a conspiracy theory of Russian collusion? There was no need to peddle a story born from a dossier that even the author of that said dossier said that he didn't know the validity and if it was actual fact. That was starting out, and the Democrats paid for that information. We actually think the biggest pandemic right now in America is the lack of education and critical thinking skills. Honestly, the media is not even hiding it. Their bias, their prejudices. We can have outlets for music. We can have outlets for sports. We can have outlets for all kinds of things. But pray tell, golly gee whiz, if we have somebody put up the conservative mantra. We say, CNN, just stop crying. Just stop crying. You whined about one particular man for 4 years, complained that he's all these things that you honestly are, and you do the same thing. You peddle conspiracy theories yourself. And guess what? Stop whining. Lose with dignity. CNN, you ran Russian collusion for 24/7 for 4 years, and you say others are telling lies? You had no cooperation, and you had a whole party of Democrat mongrels that would attack and bite and nip at the heels of Donald J. Trump any chance they possibly could. And you followed them everywhere they went. And what are two things that really don't go together in life? The truth and Brian Seltzer. And it's kind of funny. CNN, at their base level, they got their, quote, how to be biased media outlet, unquote, playbook stolen. The audacity of OANN. The audacity of all these other networks that are on the comeuppance for using the same playbook you started with. Prior to Donald Trump, the media was still fake news, but we have seen levels unheard of. This is propaganda media. OANN and all these other up-and-coming things like Newsmax, they're more unbiased than you folks. And they do have a point. Fox News knows better than to put up on their Republican-leaning news channel that Donald Trump lost the election. Donald Trump has not lost the election because no one has conceded. The Electoral College has not decided to make their decision yet. And because of this, there are no winners. It's kind of like a pool game. If you sink the 8 ball, your opponent did not win. It's only considered a loss to you. So there's no winner. And in America, like it or not, the mainstream media has lost the trust of at least half of America. And there's no way ever of earning it back. What you've done the last 4 years is nearly unforgivable. You took sides in an argument and you attacked the United States president, our president, the person who affects all of our lives, for all of their talk about him being this massive bully. You went on a tirade that lasted 4 years. You researched everything about the man. You pressured him into trying to give out his personal tax information. You went to ex's homes of his and tried to get them to say bad things about him. You went to all of his family, anyone. Maybe it happened to be a black sheep of the family, but nonetheless, they went out and tried to get dirt on Donald J. Trump every single day for 4 years, and they posted it everywhere they could all the time. They were essentially the Jim Carrey of the news media outlets. The derangement couldn't get any worse. But what can you expect? CNN can't even beat Nick at Night for ratings. I honestly think that tells you everything you need to know. See, CNN is the type of group that will go out and ask Donald J. Trump about children in cages, which he never started. That was a Bill Clinton creation. But they'll give him, Joe Biden, softball questions. Like, hey, what flavor of ice cream do you have, Joe? Honestly, CNN talking about conspiracy theories is it's laughable, especially in the voice of Brian Seltzer. CNN, you realize these networks wouldn't have even started if you were reporting objectively. Maybe present some facts, maybe allow people to decide for themselves, just maybe, right? Seems pretty obvious that you don't have to force your narrative on everyone 24/7. That's opinionated commentary, not journalism. You notice how CNN does. They go find the one guy, the one toothless guy in a yellow shirt at the beginning of a video, just like any other dummy they could find. So they found the worst out of the worst and filmed that person instead of anyone else that might have appeared any kind of more appealing to their liberal audience. It's kind of horrendous how they go out and play people. The reality is, news networks don't decide anything for anyone. They tell you what information they have, lump their opinion, which may lean left, right, centrist to some degree depending on which network, in exchange for you watching them and earning them ad revenue. They honestly, to God, can't force you to do anything, and they can't even force you to watch them. We don't expect anything less from the fake news networks. CNN knows a thing or two about telling lies. Most of these fake news networks have opened up a can of worms, and we can't put them back in. It is essentially Pandora's box. If social media companies are starting to be held accountable for fake news, then when will the same standards apply for news outlets? And furthermore, doesn't that open up for more censorship? What is the truth? Is everyone sitting behind closed doors, behind the rest of us, fighting for what news is allowed to be let out to the general public? It's actually quite scary to think about. But we'd like to say to CNN, MSNBC, CBS, etc., opinions are not news. We all miss the days when reporting the facts was what the networks actually did. Now, we don't know if Fox really did go off the deep end. With the exception of a few hosts there, they did kind of fall off hard in the conservative area. Many of the conservatives that are watching them right now are turning off, and they're probably going to leave for good. We don't know if Fox News is going to be right-leaning forever. We honestly think this is more temporary than anything. And channels like Newsmax and OANN should fill that slot if Fox News isn't going to do it. Honestly, they should have titled this whole entire video, "Come Back to Us because we're losing money by losing your views." Really, this is a bunch of whining. You're not even really reporting that conservative news has outlets and all this other stuff. You're literally whining that they're taking views from you. That conservative viewers should be staring at your screen. Since when are you allowed to dictate what we watch? For God's sakes, these are the same people that went around talking about how peaceful protesters were peaceful protesting while burning down churches, while burning down innocent businesses. Fire all in the background, and Seltzer is just sitting there like, it's a peaceful protest here mostly. And just think, that shot with the camera angled at him just that way was probably the most peaceful place in the area, which is really saying something. Man, the irony of CNN accusing people of lying is more than palpable. It is actually hilarious. Aren't you the same people for years that went around telling everybody that they were conspiracy theorists for believing lights in the sky? And now we have the Pentagon coming out and saying, oh, well, the lights in the sky are real. We don't know what they are. They're probably advanced tech, but we've definitely chased them down. How many times are you going to be wrong, CNN? How many times are you going to call everyone a conspiracy theorist and believe that you're going to get away with it? This is why you're hundreds of millions in the hole, CNN. You're Ahab, and you had to go out and get your whale, and it cost your neck. Folks, it was the same CNN that, behind its own back, said Russia collusion was a, quote, nothing burger. I honestly can't take these people seriously. And the truth of the matter is, they wouldn't be making a smear campaign, because that's what this is. This is a smear campaign against competition. They wouldn't have that if they weren't scared. They are definitely scared of any and all competition at this point. They don't need any more troubles because, as we said, they're in the hole. What it looks like from our vantage point is that the mainstream media is actually losing viewers. The alternative media is gaining viewers. So what's the problem? Why is that happening? I wonder why. Maybe the derangement grew old after several years. We think it has a lot to do with that. And if you look at the video, what kind of quality is this? This actually looks like something that came out of The Onion. At this point with CNN and most of these mainstream media outlets, if these commie news networks say anything, they're lying. You can bet your life that they're not actually telling the truth. We almost want to say anything that they talk about. Now, there's a monolith that they found in the desert. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that would come right out and say that the media is covering up for something with that too. And before all of this Donald Trump stuff, I would have never believed it, and I would have brushed it off as conspiracy theory too. We don't feel as if things are all conspiracy all the time. We don't go down that route that often. But we have to say, when news outlets like CNN lie to you for over 4 years and tell you everything to exacerbate a situation, to race bait and everything else they can to basically start a friggin' civil war, it makes me understand that they don't care about reality and truth. They only care about their pockets. We ask you, how do you not know if CNN is the network that's lying to you? At this point, we can't trust any network, including OAN and Newsmax. Nothing in media should be trusted 100%. It's all a shade over your eyes, just like any deep fake that we would see on the internet. It's becoming harder and harder to understand what really is reality, what really is truth, when we're looking into this little box, trying to find out what's happening around us. When you call yourself a conservative network like Fox News had been doing for years, and you call Arizona before the voting was ever done, you're not of the conservative agenda, and you know the power that you hold. You are the front runner, the highest talking point for the President of the United States, for the conservative, Republican leaning side. And you decide you're just going to call a state before it's ever declared? That's not a mistake. That's not a oopsie. You did that on purpose. You misled them into what kind of network you really were. And we warned people. None of these outlets are really American, folks. We actually believe that OAN or Newsmax, they're probably more American-based than these large media outlets. They don't care about the American people. It's not their country. From our understanding, Fox is primarily owned by people in Australia. CNN is primarily owned by people in China. At this point, the only way to protect your mental health is that you need to practice and use your own ability to use critical thinking and analyze all information that you hear or see in the media. It's your brain. They'd like to program it. You feed it what you put in it, and you are what you eat. Anyway, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good night, whichever. Please like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate that around here. Drop a comment down below. We like to talk with you. We like to pick your brain. And if you have any ideas for new videos, please drop a comment down in the box down below. Also, don't forget to hit your notification bell. If you don't hit your notification bell, you might have a problem getting our videos. God bless each and every one of you. See ya.